This is the final piece of the introduction chapter of the research project. So we want to explore significance of the study and delimitation. So when you hear of the significance of the study, you ask yourself, who gets to benefit from my work? And what's the rationale for the study? So significance of the study is a written statement that explains why your research is needed in the first place. So you need to justify the importance of your work and the impact it has on your field or your profession, its contribution to new knowledge and how others will benefit from it. I call it the and so what. So this is the and so what. So when you are creating the gap in the statements of the problem, in a way, the statement is connected to the significance of the study. So what? Why should I be interested in your work? This is where you tell me why I need to, because of its contribution to me as an individual, to the community, to the counseling or psychological profession. How is that going to benefit the country? How is that going to benefit my community? How is that going to benefit the population or the sample that you are working with? Okay, so while stating the significance, you might highlight how your research will be beneficial to the development of science and the society in general. And when I talk of science, I mean the profession. You can first outline the significance in a broader sense by stating how your research will contribute to the broader problem in your field. Now you see why I'm saying it's connected to the statement of your problem, okay? And gradually you need, after you have done the broader one, you need to narrow it down to demonstrate the specific groups that will benefit from your research. While writing the significance of the study, you must answer questions like, why should your research be published? How will this study contribute to the development of your field? Some people, instead of using the word significance, they will say the rationale of the study. So it's important to convey to your readers why the research work is important in the first place, or why it was important in the first place. This might be an academic reviewer assessing your manuscripts under peer review. It can also be an examiner. So for many institutions in Ghana, when you do research, either the master's or the doctoral level, they send it to both an internal assessor and an external assessor. And so you are demonstrating to your internal and or external assessor why your study is worth reading. And it has to be such a convincing statement to let everybody go, oh, of course, that's so true. Because if it's not benefiting anybody, then we'll say, please go home. Don't waste your time and don't waste my time too, okay? So pay attention to this part. And the beautiful thing with creating a good rationale is if you are looking for funders, it's easy for funders to know, hey, this person's work is connected to donor agency's mission or vision in this way because it helps this person's community in that way, okay? Your academic writing should be very clear to your reader what the significance of the research is, as well as the contribution that you made and the benefits of the study. So significance of the study or rationale for the study allows your readers to know how the study in a broader sense is beneficial and specifics who are going to benefit from it. Then the last piece is our delimitation, or people will call the scope. The scope. So the scope of the study refers to boundaries. I've also come across students who confuse delimitation with limitation. Delimitation is just the boundaries. What is it I'm working within? I am working within this and this. I'm not going beyond this. So if you come back and say, but you should have talked about this, I've already told you what my boundaries are, what my scope is, okay? So scope of the study refers to the boundaries within which your research projects will be performed. This is also sometimes called, well, the scope. I've already talked about that. To define the scope of the study is to define all aspects that will be considered in your research projects. It is also just as important to make clear what aspects will not be covered. So what is within the scope and what is outside. Each of these parameters will have limits placed on them so that the study can practically be performed and the result interpreted relative to limitations that have been defined. These parameters will also help to shape the direction of each research question. Now you see where the golden thread is coming. So no area stands on its own. Scope of the study basically means that all those things that will be covered in the research project. It defines clearly the extent of content that will be covered by the means of research in order to come to a more logical conclusion and give conclusive and satisfactory answers to the research. So the sample size is a commonly used parameter in the definition of the research scope. For example, a research project involving human participants may define at the start of the study that 100 participants will be recruited. This number will be determined based on an understanding of the difficulty in recruiting participants to studies and an agreement of an acceptable period of time within which to recruit this number. So, for example, I have a colleague who always enjoys using witchcraft as an example. And he goes like, so if you are going to interview those who describe themselves as they're in the profession of witchcraft, as at 2024, not every community will have members who are brave enough to admit that they are in witchcraft. And so this kind of study will be very sensitive. You may not get as many people. You will do a lot of snowball sampling because this one will say, oh yeah, this one is also in my profession and this one is also in my profession, especially if they trust you, the researcher. If not, you may not get anybody at all. So why is the delimitation important? Why is the scope important? Scope of the study is always considered and agreed upon in early stages of the project before any data collection or experimental work starts. It's important because it focuses the work of the proposed study down to what is practically achievable within a given time frame. A well-defined scope enables the researcher to give clarity to the study outcomes that are to be investigated. It makes clear why specific data points have been collected while others have been excluded. So this student who was looking at adolescents, I remember when they went and collected the pilot study because they used one region for pilot study and then the other 2 other regions for the main study. I think some of the participants didn't understand it. They just assumed, well, we are all in the informal settlement, so they completed it. One of the questions we asked was, how old are you? And so we had participants who were above the age bracket for adolescents. So we had to remove probably 5% of the data set because they were outside the scope that we had created. Now you get it. Okay, so similarly, it's important to create a scope because it makes approach to answering a research question a bit too open-ended if you don't provide a delimitation. So the scope of the study is important to define as it enables the researchers to focus their research within achievable parameters. That's about it for this kind of study. So we've completed the introduction part. Hopefully we'll be able to tackle literature review, explore the different types of literature review and what is relevant to your own study. Then we'll walk through methodology, we'll provide this adolescents in informal settlement results as part of the results and discussion. So it will mostly focus on quantitative results. Hopefully, in the future, I'll be able to bring in the qualitative piece and the mixed methods piece. And then we'll provide conclusions, implications, and recommendations in a way that makes it easy to both do a degree project as well as make it relevant for submission for publication. All right, thank you. And as always, feel free to share it with your friends if you think they are helpful. Bye.